We talk a lot about how if you want to have more leads at a higher price point for web design and digital marketing, you really need to specialize in something, like pick a target market. And in a minute, I'm going to give you a video where we go through some examples of like $10,000 and up target markets for web design and digital marketing. But right now, what I want to do is give you some examples, like 3 tips that people commonly kind of slip into these traps for picking a target market that can really stall you out. And so we'll go through these 3 tips and you can see what you think. The first one is you want to make sure that when you're picking your target market, you pick a niche or a target market that you have access to, like you know people in that space. And what commonly happens is you might get stuck thinking about, well, if I want to pick a target market, like what kind of industries would I really be interested in? And you tend to think of like, would I be happy seeing my client do their job for their customers, even if you don't have access to anyone in that space? And it's kind of a weird thing because like almost all the enjoyment that I get and all the fulfillment I get from my job is seeing my clients grow their business, like getting more leads, getting more revenue coming in, seeing the impact that has on their families and their lives and things like that. That's the enjoyment that I get out of it. I don't really care too much about what my clients do for their customers. I mean, you don't want it to be something like illegal or crazy or whatever, but as long as they're doing a good job for their customers and everybody's happy over there, my enjoyment comes from seeing my clients succeed. So think about that and then think about who do you have access to? Like who can you help? Like who do you know? Because of 2 reasons. That's going to make your research go a lot easier, trying to figure out what the solution is for the people in that space because you can talk to people. And then number 2, when your solution's ready, you've got built-in warm leads ready to go. So that's kind of tip number 1, pick an audience you have access to. Tip number 2 is make sure that the same solution works for everyone that you attract, right? So there should be some people that this works for and other people it does not work for. Because if you don't have the people it does not work for part going for you, that's a red flag that you don't have any borders around your solution. You're not really specializing in anything. You know, for example, if you say, my target market is going to be small business. Well, depending on who the small business client is, you're going to have to shift your strategies, right? Like if you get a real estate agent coming to you, you're going to have to use different marketing strategies than if you get a health coach coming to you, right? So it's like, if you have to switch your strategy based on who's coming to you, that's a red flag that you're not really specializing in anything or your target market's too broad. So you want to shrink it down to make sure that the same solution works for all the people that are coming to you. So if this is making some sense, go ahead and thump the thumb for me because that will help more people discover the video. But the third one is you want to make sure that you're not drawing a distinction without a difference. This is something that I see all the time is people will say like, I want to work with a particular type of person or a particular type of business, but the solution that you provide for that person or for that business would actually work for like anybody, like would work for a much wider audience than what you're saying. An example would be like, okay, well, here are my computer glasses. I've got these computer glasses these are for aerospace engineers or something like that. It's like, well, okay, why are those glasses for aerospace engineers? I mean, wouldn't they work for anybody who just wants to block blue light from their computer screen? Oh yeah, but I want to sell them to aerospace engineers. Well, if you do something like that, you're making a distinction without a real difference. It's like, there's nothing different that you would do when selling those glasses to aerospace engineers and selling them to anybody. And when that happens, you're going to find that your marketing falls flat. You can't really justify the higher price points. It's just a distinction without a difference and doesn't really help you when defining your target market. But it's easy to do. Like people will say, well, I'll just take the same solution and I'll just say that it's for this small audience. But then you don't really get the power of specializing in something. And then everything kind of unravels from there. So those are the 3 big tips. Now, what about the solution itself? Okay, so like what if you've actually got the target market dialed in? Well, what about the offer? Like how do you actually put a solution first agency together? So check the link here in the description because I just put this 45-minute like video course together. It's totally free. But click the link in the description and follow me along and I'll show you exactly how to build a solution first agency. And not just how, but like why. And there's like so many benefits, everything from more leads, higher price point, an exit strategy when actually, if you want to sell the business or something like that, there's tons of reasons you would want to have a solution first agency over a more traditional web agency, especially with all the crazy stuff that's happened lately. There's so much competition out there. Prices are falling and there's a lot of frustration with like professional web designers who are competing with beginners and being forced to lower their price to compete with these other low-cost alternatives. And this solution first agency is really the answer to that. Like, how do you get out of that downward spiral and actually provide real value to people who need it? So check the link in the description for how to build a solution first agency, totally free course, and join me over there. Or check this next video and I'll show you some examples of $10,000 niches. We'll go through some good and some bad examples. So either click the link in the description, check this next video. Either way, I'll see you in just a minute.